The future of gaming and why Gen Z isn't buying. Gaming has changed a lot over the last 30 years, from sprites to 3D models to whole entire AI generated worlds. And how the industry's made money has changed too. In the 1990s, here's a game. 2000s, here's a game with a store. Okay. 2010s, here's a store with a game attached. And now it feels like with the 2020s, here's a casino disguised as a game with a store? I don't know how to really work on that one, but we'll just roll with it. This is a problem, and the worst part, it's not sustainable. Because the younger generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, aren't buying into it the way millennials once did. We're in a spending collapse. Let's start with the numbers. 28% of Gen Z don't spend any money on games. Millennials, only 18%. Just 41% of Gen Z make in-app purchases compared to 48% of millennials. And of those who do, only 35% spend more than $10 in an average month. For millennials, that's 50% of the time. Gen Z and Alpha now make up about 28% of gamers, overtaking millennials at 26. But they're spending less than the generation before them. Now, if you guys have no idea what the fuck I just said, basically what I'm saying is Gen Z and Alpha aren't buying in-game purchases. They're not spending everything on a mobile game. They're not wiping it out on a gotcha lottery wheel. Industry analysts have been charting the drop in spending. It's steep enough to make publishers panic. Combine that with studies showing that Gen Z's reluctant to buy new titles and see the trend clearly. Younger players aren't paying what the industry is demanding. We have AAA games outpacing reality. Meanwhile, AAA publishers are running in the opposite direction. Games are more expensive than ever. 60? Pfft, gone. $70, even $80 standard editions. Consoles are climbing in price. To get a PS4 now, you have to spend more than a PS5. What's going on? What the fuck? And you don't even own the games anymore, right? Everything is fragmented into DLC, battle passes, and cosmetics that cost more than the game itself, right? And Ubisoft is saying, yo, CEOs be comfortable without owning a game, and servers getting plugged, pulled, rug underneath, like we talked about in a recent video. If you want to go check that out, Splitgate 1's gone. Splitgate 2's in beta now. They just you don't have ownership of a game anymore. That time period is gone. It's over. And look at Marvel Rivals. I love that game. But every skin in that game adds up to over $1,200. That's not gaming. That's not in-app purchases. That's debt. Like, over $1,200? That's my college tuition right there. Jesus Christ. And publishers, they keep chasing these wide audiences instead of, like, specific ones, which makes these games bloated, bland, and overpriced. It's the reason why open world titles feel copy and pasted. Another outpost to unlock that, it reveals the map. Objective markers all over my screen and a little trail to mark where I go to hold my hand. It's becoming oversaturated. And yet, despite being more bloated than a boomer from Left 4 Dead 2, releases are coming out faster than people can even buy, okay? Let alone finish. Last year saw almost 19,000 games released. Only 150 of them were AAA or AA. There simply isn't enough time or money for players to keep up. Most people are already behind. I haven't even beaten Baldur's Gate 3 or Hogwarts Legacy, just to name a few, right? And I like those games. Haven't even got close to that shit. I'm still on Act 3. If you know Act 3, it's a compact side quest fest. They just shove that down your throat. Anyway, the backlog of these games keep growing. I've had to skip games like Wukong, Space Marine, Dragon's Dogma, Stellar Blade, the new Metal Gear. But here's the kicker. Even if I had the cash flow to buy these full price games, I simply wouldn't have the time to play them. There's just no time in a day to finish all these games. It's literally impossible. And you have to remember, maybe you're this elite MLG pro gamer that literally sweats out grease into your keyboard. Listen, we're talking about at least the casual consumer, right? Which is the main market. Sadly, us little gamers, right? We're not the main audience. So what makes you think this is going to be sustainable for games and for this industry? Here's the harsh reality of this whole situation. The economy is broken. Inflation, trade wars, rising costs of living, unemployment, student debt, the whole thing stacks against young players. 4 million Gen Zers are jobless right now. Analysts call it the Gen Z job crisis. They blame it on broken promises, worthless degrees, and a system that leaves many in the what is called NEET category, which translates to not an education, employment, or training. Wow, look at that. So, how exactly is a 20-something-year-old with a rent due supposed to justify $70 on a single game, or hundreds more in in-game purchases? They can't. Which is why Gen Z gravitates towards free-to-play or older titles or cheaper indie games. These statistics isn't just preference, it's survival. It's the only way to stay in the hobby. And publishers are just dumb. What's their answer to this? They're going for the live service trap, okay? AAA publishers have put their faith in live service. But here's the problem. The cost of running a live service rarely matches the engagement it needs to stay profitable. Free-to-play titles hook players with cosmetics priced outrageously high, Valorant skins cost more than a full game, and publishers justify it because they need that money to keep the servers alive. But it creates a vicious cycle of higher costs, worse cosmetics, and players leaving when they realize their rewards are just time wasters. If this trend continues, everything risks turning into a Korean-style MMO. Paywalls for progression, paywalls for cosmetics, even paywalls for basic gameplay. Live service isn't saving gaming, it's draining it. But the thing saving gaming, really, honestly, right now, during this era, is it's the golden era of indies. Indie games are thriving. Take Peak. It sold 5 million copies in 1 month.
Hi, guys!
Hi.
Does anybody need food?
Thank you. Were you not holding right click?
That was such a real fucking scream.
That was dramatic. I had her and then it let go.
Repo, 15 million under 6 months. Lethal Company exploded into a culture phenomenon off a $10 price tag.
You're alive? No!
Why are these games blowing up on TikTok and YouTube? Simple. Accessibility, affordability, and focus. Indie devs don't have the luxury of wasting time or money. They can't afford to pad their games with filler to make up for playtime. They need tight gameplay. They need strong communities and a reasonable price. And the thing is, it works. Viral clips on TikTok, YouTube are almost always indie titles. They're never the latest AAA launches. And players celebrate these indie games because they feel respected. They feel joy. They feel community. Look at the hype even for Silksong, right? People are rooting for it, not tearing it down. That's the difference here. This is industry cannibalism. The consequence of all this are already here. Older gamers are leaving the hobby. They're going to be raising families. They're closing on the door. Getting too old to do the little Fortnite emo, alright?
Hi, I'm Renata Bliss, and I'm your freestyle dance teacher.
They don't know what sticking in your they don't know what sticking in your butt twin is, right? They don't know that shit. They're going on. They barely do the skibbity toilet bull crap. They're moving on. Gen Z and Alpha just aren't buying. They're not buying in. They just don't have the money, don't have the means, don't have the time. Spending is collapsing, and piracy is at an all-time high, and that's a genie who, once it's out in the bottle, whew, that will cause serious problems for publishers that I don't think they're even ready for. Okay? Because there's already some sites out there where you can play any game you want. Okay? I won't tell you where, because I don't believe in that stuff a little bit. But hey, if you want to find them, you can find them. You might just risk some Russian dude living in your computer as they hack you. Tomato, tomato. Your choice. Another thing that sucks about this is just Microsoft and other gigantic companies are just laying off thousands of developers. And these companies keep praising and leading towards AI, thinking that it's the shortcut solution, but it's also destroying jobs. Big titles are taking too long to make and too much money to finish. The inflated budgets, massive dev teams, bloated marketing cycles, and endless delays can't keep up with the consumer reality. Meanwhile, indies launch faster, they're cheaper, and usually in a more stable state. They don't just crash when you load them up, they actually kind of work. Kind of crazy, right? It's almost like they had time to be tested. Even services like Game Pass or PlayStation Extra can't solve this. Developers openly admit it. If your game is struggling, put it on Game Pass. If it has potential, don't, because it will get buried. That's just not sustainable either. There's a reason why so many publishers are against movements like Stop Killing Games. And I'm not going to talk about Pirate Software. That loser. He works at Blizzard. I don't know if you know that. His dad worked at Blizzard. I don't know if you know that.
You fool! Don't you see your arrogance? Need I remind you that's what got us fired from Blizzard?
Yeah, so I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. I barely think about it.
But anyway, sorry. I just really hate that guy. But there's a reason why they don't like Stop Killing Games. It's because they don't want you to have ownership of your game that you purchased. They just don't. If you keep playing the same title, how are they going to expect to push you to buy the latest annual release of the same game with one added new gameplay feature and a whole lot of new microtransactions to spend? They can't. They won't. So that's why they're saying, fuck you. And that's why they say, fuck you, give me your money, buy your new game, right? Look how many CODs are copy and pasted. How many games have you played that are new releases that feel the same? And don't get me started about Nintendo's ownership and policies and, oh god, I hate Nintendo. If you like Nintendo games a lot, I am so sorry that you are just, you must be a masochist or something, because Nintendo slides their dick down your throat and makes you say thank you.
I just slid my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it.
That's crazy. Anyway, back on track. And here's the dark truth. There's no replacement for millennials. There's no audience waiting in the wings. Millennials are buying less as they grow older. Gen Z and Alpha buy even less than that. There isn't another generation coming to spend more, which means this problem will only get worse. AAA publishers are betting everything on live service AI and inflated budgets while ignoring the one market that's actually growing: smaller, affordable, community-driven games. If they don't adjust, more studios will collapse. We'll see more developers lose jobs, and more players will move on to other hobbies entirely. You know, D&D, card games, books, movies, anything cheaper and less demanding they're going towards. I know frickin' card games are like blowing up right now, like opening packs on stream. It's kind of crazy.
It's a little sus. Lock in.
But yeah, like that's what's happening, because just gaming's too big right now, but also not good. it's funny actually. So there's only one way forward. What's the solution, you may ask? Publishers need to simply slash budgets, shrink scope, and focus on quality over size. Smaller games are more affordable, more profitable, and less risky. They also stop the cycle of laying off your whole entire dev team every quarter. Oh, fuck, that's good. That is a good cookie. Yummy. So, where was I? Yeah, anyway. Because right now, most people don't even have the specs to run the latest AAA titles. We're at a point where stable frames per second are praised at release when they should be the bare minimum. Execs at EA even noted that more than half the players on the Battlefield 6 beta were using below minimum hardware. Okay? How can you expect someone to spend thousands on a gaming rig with RGB compared to the expenses they're facing in the world today? Right now, people can barely keep their heads above bills, rent.
Rent? Not now. Listen, it's a free country. It's not rent-free country.
Leave me alone.
Give me rent.
You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door!
Medical care, let alone a $70 skin bundle. Games are being sold incomplete, broken, and overpriced. And players are simply saying no.
No. What do you mean no? I mean no. You want to hear it in Spanish? No.
There's no guarantee that gaming as we know it survives this. Really, I'm being honest. Like, I'm looking at the numbers. It's eating itself alive. But if it does, it'll be because indies kept the soul of gaming alive, while the corporate side drowned in its own excess. AAA gaming isn't fighting itself to death. It's eating itself alive. New hardware and graphics are outpacing consumers, while indie is thriving. The smaller fishes are eating big at the table. and Gen Z isn't buying into the hobby that's pricing them out. So next time you think about pre-ordering Battlefield 6, or Borderlands 4, or even the coveted GTA 6, ask yourself, what exactly are you paying for? Because right now, the industry isn't selling games anymore. It's selling promises. Promises not even to you, but to shareholders. And players are finally done buying. My last thoughts are to any of you weirdos that defend these billion-dollar companies. I hope you know, you were certainly a cuck in a past life. And with that, I've been Pooks. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, or else you find me under your bed tonight. And I'm not there to read you a goodnight story, bud, but I will put you to sleep. Peace.